Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of US 5-cent coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1972 United States 5-cent coin. At first glance, it may seem like just another ordinary nickel with Thomas Jefferson's familiar face. But behind its simple design hides a world of mystery, minting errors, and collector excitement that could turn your 5 cents into something much, much more. Now, let's set the scene. The year is 1972. The United States is in the midst of the Cold War. Gas prices are climbing, and the world is changing fast. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint continues its routine job of producing coins for everyday use. That year, millions of nickels were struck in Philadelphia and Denver. Most of them were quickly tossed into circulation, used for candy bars, bus rides, and coffee machines. But a few, just a very few, came out of the mint with something special, something unexpected. Something valuable. Now let's talk about what makes the 1972 nickel stand out in the eyes of serious collectors. First, it's all about condition. Like any collectible, the better the state, the better the price. A 1972 nickel in pristine, uncirculated condition, no scratches, no wear, just a clean, brilliant surface, can already fetch far more than its face value. But that's only the beginning. What really makes this coin shine are the errors, the unintentional mistakes made during the minting process. These mint errors are the holy grail for coin collectors. Some 1972 nickels were struck off-center, meaning the design doesn't appear in its proper place on the coin. Others were double-struck, where the coin is hit more than once by the die, leaving a shadowy, ghost-like effect on the lettering or the image of Jefferson himself. And then there are the die clashes, where the coin die, normally used to stamp the coin's design, strikes another die without a coin between them. This causes impressions from the opposite side of the die to appear faintly where they shouldn't. These are rare, beautiful, and highly sought after. But perhaps the most fascinating errors are those involving full steps on Monticello, the building shown on the reverse side of the nickel. Jefferson's iconic home, Monticello, is a key detail for collectors. In most circulated nickels, the steps of Monticello are worn down or never fully struck in the first place. But a 1972 nickel with full steps, clear and sharp from top to bottom, is a rare find indeed. Combine full steps with an uncirculated condition, you've got a coin that gets collectors talking. Still with me? Good, because it gets better. There are also a few coins out there from 1972 with planchet errors. That's when the metal blank the coin is struck on isn't quite right. Maybe it's too thin, too thick, or made from the wrong alloy. These freak occurrences during production make a coin totally unique, one of a kind, and that uniqueness can drive value through the roof. Now, imagine combining all of these factors: an uncirculated 1972 nickel with full steps, a rare double strike error, and a clean minting on a misaligned or off-metal planchet. That, my friends, is the kind of coin collectors dream about. But don't take my word for it. Let's talk about the value. You're probably wondering, okay, but how much can a coin like this really be worth? Well, in one verified case, a rare 1972 United States 5-cent coin, with extraordinary mint condition and extremely rare error features, didn't just sell for a few $100s. It didn't go for a few thousand. Either. It sold for $79,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. 79,000 US dollars. For a 5-cent coin. Now tell me you're not going to check every nickel you come across from now on. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's a world full of surprises. That ordinary-looking change sitting in your drawer might just be your hidden treasure. So next time you come across a 1972 nickel, grab a magnifying glass. Look closely. Examine the steps on Monticello. Check for doubling on the letters or Jefferson's profile. And if you think you've found something truly special, take it to a professional appraiser or a trusted coin dealer. You never know. You could be holding a 5-cent piece that's worth more than a luxury car. Top 2, we're diving deep into the story of a humble American coin that might just be hiding in your pocket right now. A coin that could secretly be worth a small fortune. We're talking about none other than the 1979 United States 5-cent coin. That's right, the nickel. A coin we see every day, spend without a second thought, and often overlook. But what if I told you that one rare version of the 1979 nickel has been sold for a jaw-dropping amount of money? Stick with me, because what you're about to learn could change the way you see your spare change forever. Let's take a step back to the year 1979. America was riding the waves of change, technology was advancing, the economy was shifting, and coin production was full steam ahead. The U.S. Mint, as usual, was striking millions of nickels for everyday circulation. These coins featured the same iconic design we've come to know and love. Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his historic home, Monticello, on the reverse. But among these countless coins, a few special pieces slipped through the cracks. Coins that would later become treasures for collectors around the world. At first glance, the 1979 nickel doesn't look any different from the ones in your change jar. But as any seasoned collector knows, it's the details that matter. The value of a coin isn't just about its age, it's about condition, rarity, and most importantly, errors. And the 1979 5-cent coin has some hidden surprises that make it a must-have for serious collectors. Let's start with condition. In the coin world, the difference between a well-circulated coin and a flawless uncirculated one can mean thousands of dollars in value. Coins graded as mint state or proof are often those that were never released into public use. Perfect surfaces, sharp edges, and full details. Now imagine a 1979 nickel in that condition. That's already rare. But that's not what makes it legendary. What sets this coin apart are the mint errors. These are mistakes made during the striking process, and collectors absolutely love them. One of the most famous errors found on the 1979 nickel is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet isn't perfectly aligned in the press, causing part of the design to be cut off or shifted dramatically. Depending on how far off the design is, an off-center nickel can become incredibly valuable. Another rare error involves double striking, where the coin is struck more than once, leaving behind shadowy outlines, especially in the lettering or around Jefferson's face. These double-struck coins are stunning to look at and extremely desirable. In the right condition, they can fetch huge amounts at auction. Then there's the die clash error. This occurs when the coin dies strike each other without a planchet between them, imprinting part of the reverse design onto the obverse die, and vice versa. When coins are then struck using these damaged dies, you get coins with ghostly images in places they don't belong. It's strange, it's rare, and it's worth serious money. But the real crown jewel for collectors? That would be the full steps variety. This refers to the steps on Monticello on the reverse of the coin. On most nickels, those steps are worn down or never fully visible due to weak strikes. But on a full steps 1979 nickel, you can see all 5 or 6 steps clearly, from top to bottom. A full step strike means the die was perfectly aligned, the pressure was just right, and the result is a coin with maximum detail and value. Combine full steps with an error or mint state condition, and you've got something truly special. And we haven't even talked about planchet errors yet. In rare cases, coins were struck on the wrong metal blanks. Imagine a nickel that was accidentally struck on a penny planchet. Suddenly you have a coin that's not only visually unique, but also extremely rare and highly collectible. What does all this mean? Well, it means that if you come across a 1979 nickel with one or more of these rare features, maybe it's off-center, double-struck, shows die clashes, or even has full steps in pristine condition, you could be holding something far more valuable than 5 cents. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. Let's talk about the money. While many 1979 nickels are worth face value or just a few bucks, the rarest examples, the ones with remarkable mint errors and flawless grading, have sold for incredible amounts at public auctions. In fact, one extraordinary 1979 5-cent coin, featuring a rare mint error and in perfect uncirculated condition, stunned the collector community when it was sold for a staggering total of $77,000. Yes, you heard that right. 77,000 US dollars. For a 5-cent coin. Now ask yourself, do you have any 1979 nickels tucked away in a drawer? Maybe mixed in with old change? If so, it might be time to take a much closer look. Examine it carefully. Look for any striking abnormalities. Check the steps on Monticello. Inspect for doubling. Look for anything that feels out of the ordinary. And if you think you've found something special, don't guess. Have it checked out by a professional coin grader or a reputable dealer. Because your ordinary-looking nickel might just be a hidden treasure. Top 3, we're traveling back to the year 1985. Ronald Reagan was president, new Coke had just hit the shelves, and millions of Americans were jamming to cassette tapes in their Walkmans. But while all that was happening, something else was quietly being produced at the U.S. Mint, something small, round, silver-colored, and incredibly common. Yet in the right condition, shockingly valuable. We're talking about the 1985 United States 5-cent coin. Yep, the nickel. The one with Thomas Jefferson's face on one side and his famous home, Monticello, on the other. It's a coin so ordinary, you probably wouldn't give it a second thought. But buried within the mass-produced coins of that year are a few incredibly rare versions. Coins with secrets, flaws, and features that make collectors go wild. Now, not every 1985 nickel is worth money. In fact, most are worth exactly what it says on the front, 5 cents. But that's what makes this story exciting. Because in a sea of ordinary, a few extraordinary coins slipped through. And those few are the ones worth searching for. Let's start with what makes a coin valuable. First and foremost, condition. If you've got a 1985 nickel that's been passed through vending machines, sat in jars for years, or rubbed against keys in someone's pocket, it's probably not worth much. But if you've somehow come across one that's crisp, shiny, untouched, and still in uncirculated or mint condition, you've already taken the first step towards something special. Now let's talk about errors. And this is where things get exciting. Coin errors aren't mistakes in the way we normally think of them. They're actually prized by collectors. They happen when something goes wrong during the minting process. And the result is a coin that's one of a kind. One of the most exciting errors you might find on a 1985 nickel is a double die. This happens when the die, the metal stamp that impresses the image on the coin, is slightly misaligned during production. When this happens, parts of the design, especially the words Liberty or In God We Trust, may appear slightly doubled. And let me tell you, collectors go absolutely crazy for clean, visible doubling. Another highly valuable error is the off-center strike. Imagine the coin being stamped while slightly out of place. The design is pushed off to one side, sometimes dramatically. The more off-center it is, the rarer and more valuable it becomes, especially if the date is still fully visible. Then there are clipped planchet errors, where part of the metal blank that becomes the coin is literally missing, creating a coin that looks like it has a bite taken out of it. These are eye-catching, unusual, and absolutely sought after. And we can't forget about wrong planchet errors. That's when a coin is struck on the wrong type of metal. For example, a nickel design stamped onto a penny planchet, copper instead of the usual cupronickel. It's rare, it's weird, and it's worth money. But the most famous and desired feature of all? That would be the full steps on Monticello. On the reverse of every nickel is Jefferson's grand home. And if you look closely, you'll see the stairs leading up to it. Most nickels, especially those struck for circulation, don't show those steps clearly. They're often worn down or poorly struck. But if you find a 1985 nickel with full steps, crisp and perfectly detailed from top to bottom, you've just found a coin that's rare and valuable. And now, let's put all of that together. Imagine a 1985 nickel that's in perfect, uncirculated condition, with full steps on Monticello, a visible double die error, or even an off-center strike. These kinds of combinations don't happen often. They're rare. They're special. And when one of these coins shows up at an auction or in the hands of a serious collector, they don't sell for pocket change. They sell for serious money. So, how much are we talking? Well, one such 1985 United States 5-cent coin, featuring an extremely rare minting error and in pristine condition, completely shocked the coin collecting world when it was sold for a jaw-dropping total of $75,000. Yes, you heard that right. 75,000 US dollars. For a nickel. Now let that sink in for a moment. A coin that most people would overlook, drop on the ground, or spend on a piece of gum could actually be worth more than a luxury car, a college education, or even a down payment on a house. So here's what you need to do. Go check your old coin jars, your grandparents' drawers, your childhood piggy banks, wherever coins might be hiding. Look closely at any 1,985 nickels you find. Check the date. Look for doubling. Inspect the edges. Look for full steps on Monticello. And if something looks unusual, strange, or just too perfect, it might be worth having it professionally appraised. Because in the world of coins, the smallest details can make the biggest difference. Top 4, we're talking about the United States 5-cent coin from the year 1989. Yes, you heard that right. The 1989 nickel. A coin you've probably held dozens, if not hundreds of times, without thinking twice. But this unassuming coin hides a story. A story filled with rarity, error, mystery, and value. Let's take a trip back to 1989. The Berlin Wall was coming down. The Game Boy had just been released, and the US Mint was busy producing millions of nickels, just like it did every year. Featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his stately home, Monticello, on the reverse, the design hadn't changed much. But what did change, what matters to collectors, are the tiny imperfections, the rare features, the production anomalies that happened in just a small handful of these coins. Because while most 1989 nickels are worth exactly 5 cents, a few rare ones, thanks to their condition and specific minting errors, have become extremely valuable. So valuable, in fact, that one of them shocked the numismatic world when it sold for a fortune. Now let's break it down. What makes a 1989 nickel valuable? First, condition is king. A coin fresh off the mint, never used in circulation, with no scratches, nicks, or signs of wear. This is what collectors call mint state, or uncirculated. These coins are rare, especially after more than 30 years. If you have a 1989 nickel that still shines like it did the day it was struck, you're already ahead of the game. But condition alone won't make a coin incredibly valuable. What really drives up the price is the presence of errors. And the 1989 nickel has some fascinating ones. One of the most sought after is the double die error. This happens when the coin die, the piece of equipment used to strike the coin, has been engraved twice, slightly offset. The result? Letters or numbers, like the word Liberty or the date 1989, appear slightly doubled. Sometimes it's subtle. Other times, it's dramatic. But either way, it makes collectors sit up and take notice. Then there are the off-center strikes. These are coins that were stamped when the metal blank wasn't properly aligned. Part of the design gets cut off, and a blank crescent shape appears where part of the image should be. The more off-center the strike, and if the date is still visible, the higher the value. These coins are often considered minting marvels because they're both accidental and beautiful. Another highly collectible error involves die cracks and cuts. These occur when the die used to stamp the coin starts to break or wear down. The result is a raised line or blob on the coin, almost like a scar. Far from being flaws, these features are celebrated by collectors because they make the coin unique. Let's not forget the full steps variety. This refers to the staircase in front of Monticello on the reverse side of the nickel. On most coins, these steps are faint or incomplete due to weak strikes. But on certain 1989 nickels, you can see every single line of those steps, crisp and clear. A full steps designation, especially on an uncirculated coin, adds significant value. Now imagine combining some of these features. A 1989 nickel in flawless condition, with full steps, maybe an off-center strike, or a visible double die. That's the kind of coin that auction houses and collectors dream about. And just when you think you've heard it all, there's another type of rare error to consider: the wrong planchet. Occasionally, a coin meant to be a nickel was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These are incredibly rare, but they do exist. And when one is confirmed, it often becomes a highlight in any serious collection. So, how do you know if you've got something special? Start by checking the basics. Look closely at the coin's surface under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass to examine the lettering, the steps on Monticello, and any signs of doubling or misalignment. Look for anything unusual. And if something looks off or too perfect, don't ignore it. That's your cue to get it professionally evaluated by a coin dealer or grading service. Because now, it's time for the part you've been waiting for. Let's talk value. While the average 1989 nickel is only worth a few cents, and even a slightly rare one might sell for a couple of dollars, the truly rare versions, the coins with major mint errors, in pristine condition, or with multiple unique features, have reached stunning prices at auction. In fact, one exceptional example of a 1989 United States 5-cent coin, with a remarkable error and in perfect mint state, was sold for an incredible total of $73,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. 73,000 US dollars. For a single nickel. Oh, what does that mean for you? It means that every nickel you come across could be more than just 5 cents. It could be a forgotten piece of history, a rare error, a collector's dream, or it could be your lucky find. Top 5, we're diving into one of the most unexpected stories in the world of coin collecting. It's modern, it's fresh off the press, and it might just be sitting in your pocket right now. Yes, we're talking about the 2023 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the nickel. Now, most people see a nickel and think, just 5 cents. What's the big deal? But what if I told you that a seemingly ordinary 2023 nickel, minted just recently, has already become one of the most talked about modern coins in the collecting world? And what if I told you that one of these nickels sold for a staggering amount of money that could change your life? Stick with me, because this isn't just another story about old coins and dusty collections. This is a reminder that even in today's modern currency, rare treasures still exist. And if you know what to look for, you just might find one. Let's start with the basics. In 2023, the U.S. Mint continued producing the classic Jefferson nickel design. On the obverse, we see the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, facing forward, a design updated in recent years to show more detail and depth. On the reverse, Monticello is beautiful Virginia estate. At first glance, it looks like any other modern nickel. But here's where things get exciting. Out of the millions of nickels minted in 2023, a tiny number of them were struck with errors, and these are the coins that are driving collectors absolutely wild. Now, you might be wondering, how does a brand new coin become valuable so quickly? It all comes down to 3 things: rarity, condition, and minting mistakes. Let's talk about condition first. If a 2023 nickel is still in mint state, meaning it's uncirculated and shows absolutely no signs of wear, it already becomes more desirable. Most nickels are used right away. They get dropped, scraped, passed around, and tossed in jars. But coins that are preserved immediately after minting, those are rare in the long run. But condition alone isn't enough. What truly turns a nickel into a collector's dream is a mint error. And 2023 was a surprising year for that point. One of the most talked about errors is the double die. This happens when the coin's design is impressed onto the blank planchet more than once, but slightly out of alignment. You might notice doubled letters in words like Liberty or In God We Trust. Sometimes the doubling is bold and dramatic. Other times, it's subtle, but even slight doubling can send collectors into a frenzy. Another sought-after error is the off-center strike. Picture the design of the coin being pushed far to one side, with a chunk of blank space on the opposite end. The more dramatic the off-center error, and if the date is still visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then there are clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin is literally missing because the blank was cut incorrectly. The result? A coin with a curved edge that looks like someone took a bite out of it. These types of errors are easy to spot and extremely collectible. But here's one of the most fascinating modern errors that showed up in 2023 nickels: the die clash. This occurs when the front and back dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like images on the coin. You might see parts of Monticello appearing on Jefferson's face, or vice versa. It sounds bizarre, but these clashes are like accidental art pieces, and collectors love them. There's even been buzz around wrong planchet errors. Nickel struck on blanks mint for other denominations. Imagine a 2023 nickel struck on a penny-sized copper planchet. It looks off, it feels off, and that's exactly what makes it so valuable. Now, if you find a 2023 nickel with one or more of these features, off-center strike, doubling, a clipped planchet, a die clash, or a full steps reverse with no damage, you could be holding something incredibly rare. And speaking of full steps, let's talk about that for a moment. On the reverse side of the nickel, Monticello's staircase can tell you a lot. If all 6 steps are visible, with sharp lines and no wear, it qualifies as a full steps coin. These are very hard to find, especially in circulation. Full steps are like the cherry on top of a perfect coin, and they increase the value dramatically, especially when combined with an error. Now imagine this. Someone pulls a shiny 2023 nickel out of a coin roll. It's never been circulated. It has full steps. And then, they notice doubling on the date. Maybe it's off-center just enough to be noticeable. They decide to get it graded by a professional service. The verdict? A rare mint error, mint state condition, full steps, and a one-of-a-kind example. The buzz spreads. Collectors compete. And then, it happens, a bidding war. And when the final gavel drops, this seemingly ordinary 5-cent coin, minted just last year, sells for a mind-blowing total of $71,000. Yes, you heard that right. 71,000 US dollars. For a 2023 nickel SO, the big question is, could there be another one out there? Maybe it's in your pocket change. Maybe it's sitting in a sealed roll of nickels you haven't opened yet. Or maybe it's tucked away in a coin jar, waiting to be discovered. Now's the time to look. Examine your nickels. Use a magnifier. Check the steps. Look for doubling. Search for off-center strikes. Pay attention to detail. Because even in modern-day America, coin treasures are still being made. And some are just waiting to be found. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more valuable coins hiding in plain sight, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a rare coin reveal. Thanks for watching, good luck hunting, and remember, every coin has a story. Yours might just be worth a fortune.